Hello, I'm Darren. We have breaking news. More than 600,000 Americans have kidney failure. While the number of people with kidney failure is enormous, the number of people with its precursor, chronic kidney disease, is staggering. An estimated 31 million Americans, or about 10% of the US population. Diabetes and hypertension cause 2/3 of all cases of kidney disease. 1 out of every 3 Americans is at risk for kidney disease, and kidney disease is now among the top 10 causes of death in the United States. In addition, 9 out of 10 people with early to moderate kidney disease don't know they have it, putting their health in jeopardy. Are you at risk? For more information, contact urbankidneyalliance.org. The life you save may be yours.
What is up, good people? To steal a line from my buddy Rich Thames, who you can see right next to me there. I've just decided, everyone, that's the way we're going to kick off every show, with that greeting to you all. What is up, good people? It's official right there, Rich. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for joining in on the very first, the inaugural episode of Two Guys, Six Kidneys, brought to you by the Urban Health Outreach Media. I want to give a special thanks to Steve Belcher for working everything behind the scenes for us, manning the controls, making sure everything's working properly. Thanks so much, Steve. We greatly appreciate it. We also thank so much for giving us this opportunity. This is an idea that Rich and I had, going back to earlier in the year. So it's coming to life. It's coming to fruition. I'm so excited. I know Rich is excited. So without further ado, let's get started. That's right. Let's get this started. So let's have everyone meet us. So some folks, if they've tuned into previous shows with Steve, may have already been familiar with my story. And I cannot wait for the world to meet you, Rich. So don't want to take up any more time. I'm going to pass it over to you and have you introduce yourself to the world. So go right ahead, sir.
Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I am excited to be on here today, excited to bring you guys this information, and excited to share a little bit about our journey. My buddy Jason and myself, we had an idea to come together and put something together to help more people that are going through kidney failure, people that are on peritoneal dialysis, people that are looking forward to getting kidney transplants. And my journey started a while ago. Just to give you guys a little background how I ended up in this predicament. I have an active duty Air Force background, and I was in the Air Force enjoying life, just traveling the world. I actually was in Japan, Okinawa, Japan at the time, and started to experience some symptoms with some skin problems and to make a long story short, started getting checked out to figure out what was going on while I was getting these rashes. And come to find out, I was diagnosed with lupus. And for those who don't know, lupus is an autoimmune disease, and it actually your body fights against itself. So my body started attacking my kidneys, and by the time I found out about it, my kidneys were down to about 30%. So I went from being totally healthy, active, to having 30% kidney function when I found out, and it was to the point where my kidneys could not recover. So I tried to maintain my health and take care of my kidneys the best of my ability, but just had some health issues that continued to deteriorate my kidney function, and ended up on peritoneal dialysis. So actually, when I started to look into the different options that I had, my doctors told me that I was a great candidate for a transplant because of my health and my fitness. But at the same time, in order to save my life, I needed to start dialysis right away. So when I started looking into dialysis, there's two types, hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis. What I realized was the person that I am and the quality of life that I need to live and I wanted to live, hemodialysis was not going to be a good fit for me. So, for those of you who don't know, if you are on hemodialysis, most of the time you have to do your treatments for about 8 hours a day, and most of the time they're in there a couple days, few days a week, and they're required to be at a center. So you're required to be at a single location and stay at that location for the entire time of your treatment. But on the peritoneal dialysis, you can actually do it at home or from a hotel room, or in my case, even from a cruise ship, because I love to travel. So that was the choice that I decided to go for, and I ended up on peritoneal dialysis for almost 2 years before I got a transplant. And during that time, just experienced a lot of ups and downs, a lot of different trials and tribulations, a lot of pain and struggle, and realized, like, man, this is very serious. And I just wanted my life back. I wanted my health back. I wanted my strength back. And made a big campaign and a big push to get a kidney transplant. And I thank God every single day that it did not take long for me. Once I started going through the process and getting all the testing and everything taken care of, my wait time was expected to be 3 to 5 years, and I ended up getting a transplant within 5 months. Everything was done. So January 3rd of 2020, I got a kidney transplant, and from there, my quality of life has improved. My health has improved. My energy, everything is just like, I didn't realize how sick I was until I got a healthy kidney. So it's just a blessing to be here right now, sharing my story in hopes of helping more people that are going through this journey and going through these struggles that I went through, to let them know, hey, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can come out of this, and you can come out of this better. So that's my story in the short version of how we ended up on this journey. And it's funny how God works things out. Jason and myself, we actually met through a support group through Facebook. It was a Facebook support group for people who are on peritoneal dialysis. And we just ended up finding out we're in the same city. And I was like, that's pretty cool. We reached out to each other, started communicating on Messenger back and forth, encouraging each other. And it was funny because when I reached out to him and told him I was getting a transplant, he was getting a transplant too. And we ended up in the same exact hospital around the same time. And our appointments were on the same day. So we were having these appointments, these follow-up appointments every single week. And we're in the waiting room together during those appointments. So I got the chance to get to know him better. My wife got a chance to get to know his wife, and vice versa. And it just blossomed into a beautiful relationship, a beautiful friendship, and now a partnership, bringing you guys, 2 guys, 6 kidneys, and just with hopes that we can help and touch and help other people that are going through this struggle. So that's my story in a nutshell, Jason, and I'll kick it back over to you.
All righty. Thanks, Rich. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and tell my short version as well. That way we got both in, one episode there. Before I get to that, just, looking at the comment section, want to go and say hello to some folks who have taken time to go and put some comments on there. So Jonathan Trailer. So what's up, Jonathan? How's it going? My brother there out in Kerrville, Texas. How's it going? Thanks for watching. I knew you'd be tuning in. So you're everywhere, brother. So your places that I don't even know what's going on. So good on you, Jonathan. Uh, Federico, hello from Sherwin, Oregon. How's it going?
Oregon in the
How's it
house.
going? That's right, Oregon in the house right now. My dear mother, Nana Nunez. Thank you so much, Mom, and I'm sure Dad's right there, right next to you, watching along. So, hi everyone back in El Paso, Texas, my hometown, right there. Jared Brown, what's up, Jared? You and I need to connect, my friend. I have some questions for you. So, sometime soon, you and I need to connect. And there you go. So, as far as my story, kind of in a nutshell, it's it really at the beginning of the show, when those folks were passing around those signs, that's the beginning of my story. My story is one that's kind of all too familiar. High blood pressure, diabetes, double trouble right there. So that's what ultimately led to me being diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. My story goes way beyond that. If I can get the right direction. Okay, so this way, if you see this right here, this right here, this is a decoration, but it's not just a decoration. I am, aside from a kidney transplant recipient, I am also a below the knee amputee on my right side. So right here, I've turned my setback into a decoration. So this right here, this was my second prosthetic leg. It's no secret, just looking from behind me, my faith is an extremely big part of my life. Another big part of my life is the Marvel Cinematic Universe and also Star Wars as well. So for the second version of my prosthetic leg, I really wanted to have a Iron Man themed leg. So that's what this is right here. I walked around with this prosthetic around the streets of New York last August, 10,000 steps a day with that, and it worked fantastic. Up here as well is a cover to another prosthetic leg I have, and this combined my faith and also my love for Star Wars, as it says, the faith is strong with this one. So that's what that is right there. I'll stop giving a tour behind me here, but back to my story. So high blood pressure, diabetes ultimately led to me being diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. I ultimately decided to go the route of peritoneal dialysis at the very first, pushback. When my nephrologist first, informed me you need to go on dialysis, my first response was, I'm not going to do that. I'm in my 30s. I have 2 young boys. I'm married. I'm young still. Dialysis is what happens right before you die. That was my perception of dialysis, being uneducated and just hearing that word really, right? So that's where I was coming from. And for someone who may be listening to this show or to future shows and goes back to this one, if you get that news that you need to start dialysis, you may be in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 20s. Dialysis is not the end of the road. That was my mentality up front. It was until I had a conversation with a lifelong friend of mine, Olga Chavira. She had been on peritoneal dialysis for 5 years, and she has since had her kidney transplant for 10 years. And she sat down with myself, my wife, my kids, my parents, my brother, my sister. This is a family affair. She sat down, her and her husband Tony, and they shared with us what peritoneal dialysis could do, that it could be a bridge to transplant. So much like Rich, we've, my wife and I and my kids, we travel, we like to live our life, so ultimately peritoneal dialysis was the modality I chose, and it really fit our lifestyle. Rich mentions he likes to travel. That's an understatement. I'm sure COVID-19 has really been kind of putting a thorn in his side as far as not being able to, travel. I'm sure he's counting down the days when he can pack his bags and go somewhere. We're starting to get that itch as well. So, we were able to travel on that. And that's just one of the many topics we're going to cover on the show going forward. But back to my story. So being on peritoneal dialysis for about a year and a half, thanks be to God, I received the gift of life with the kidney transplant on January 16th of this year. It was probably about no more than 2 weeks right after Rich received his transplant that I received mine at the same hospital. And just as Rich mentioned, we had the same appointment mornings on the same day, roughly around the same time. So we got to meet. And, June, fast forward now to October, here we are with this show that we had wanted to try and do in podcast form early on in the year. COVID-19 hit, so we kind of had to focus on our homes, right? On our kids, making sure that schoolwork was getting done, to make sure that our home was good. Now that things are kind of, kids are at school and so on, we can now take some time to do this twice a month for anyone who wants to listen. And we're so excited to bring you this show. Aside from basically, Rich, and you can join me on the screen here now, but overall, what we want to talk about is life on peritoneal dialysis. And there's a lot that goes behind life on peritoneal dialysis. There's supply delivery.
Absolutely.
There's that first supply delivery, which is overwhelming. There is
Overwhelming is really an understatement, Jason. Keep it real.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I get that. I got some videos, once we kind of drill down on that topic, I'm sure that I can share them. I'm sure you might have some too, but it's a lot, and even before that supply delivery, there's having the catheter, surgically put into you, and, healing from that. So there's definitely a lot going on. Aside from that, there's many other topics that we can cover. Hopefully one day down the road, we can even bring in our wives, so that way we can get a caregiver's perspective with life on peritoneal dialysis. Rich and I also want to share. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, let's talk about that first part, because I know for me that that delivery, that first delivery, like, it is overwhelming is really an understatement. So guys, just so you have a kind of breakdown how your treatment goes, for peritoneal dialysis, we're doing this every single night, every night with, no days off. And for me, my treatment consists of, I use 3 bags every night. So if you think about this, we got these huge boxes, and these boxes, have like 2 bags in them that we have to hook up to a machine every night. And if you need, 3 bags every night, and you got these huge boxes and you got 30 days supply, but on your first one, they give you some extra, you got a lot of equipment that's getting, shipped to your house, and this truck pulls up and they got this huge pallet outside my door with all of this stuff. And, first thing, you got to make room for this stuff. Like, you got to figure out, where is it going to be? And also you have to make sure it's a clean location, because that's one of the things. And Jason, I know you can talk about this too, dealing what we're dealing with right now with COVID-19, going through a kidney transplant and being on peritoneal dialysis. It was like this stuff that they're talking about now with keeping your hands clean and sanitize. Like, we were already doing that, and we were like serious about that, because one of the key things about being on peritoneal dialysis is you have to keep that area clean, and you have to make sure that everything is done in a proper order, so you don't get an infection. And I didn't get an internal infection, but I got an external infection around my exit site. And I'm gonna tell you guys, that is no joke. I got it, and it's crazy the way that it happened. It actually was a doctor being careless with the site, and it caused it. And once I went through that, I was like, I never want to go through that again. But those boxes, I mean, it's really something that is scary, because you're like, man, all of this stuff, what am I going to do? What if I mess something up? And making room for it, and then having to get into a routine of every single night. You pretty much have a curfew. Every single night you have a curfew, to where you have to be connected to your machine to make sure you get enough time to have the machine cycle through, so you can actually get a really good treatment. So it's just so many things that I wasn't aware of before then, and it's like, wow. So that first part is really scary in itself, just having all of that stuff shipped to you, not even to mention the procedure of getting the catheter placed, because that's another thing. I was looking at the options, and just weighing my options. I knew I wanted to travel. I wanted to be able to still have somewhat of a quality of life. And I'm looking at getting a fistula in my arm, or getting a catheter placed in my stomach. And I'm like, man, that's, in your stomach is kind of crazy. But I'm like, hey, if this is what I got to do to be able to travel and live a better quality of life, then I'm for it. But it's really overwhelming is an understatement.
Definitely. And There's a lot of good points there that I definitely want to help unpack there. One that jumps out at me right away, and this could probably be a topic going forward just for a whole show. But really, the training we got, and honestly, I don't know what you and I did to be blessed with the transplant right before a global pandemic, but
Yes.
it's like this happened right in the nick of time. Going back to the last year and a half, you and I were trained how to wash our hands properly. Therefore, our family was. Not sure about you, Rich, but I took my boys with me.
Hmm.
It's crucial for me, for my boys to know who's caring for me medically as far as on a professional level. So they know
Yeah.
the guy that makes my prosthetic leg. They knew my dialysis nurse. They knew my nephrologist. They met them. So they took part in some of the training. They were in school most of the time, but they were able to come first for some of it. So they got to
Uh-huh.
learn how to wash their hands properly. Toward the end, when I did get the phone call for the transplant, I knew that I was going to go under some kind of a quarantine. So I knew that if when I was going to go out, I was going to have to wear a mask when I was outside. So going back to November 2019, I was asking my dialysis center for as many boxes of masks as they could give me. So
Hmm.
every time I went to that office, I was given 3 boxes of masks. So I
Yeah.
was able to stockpile masks. And then, February, March, what's going on? People need to put a mask on. So
Yeah.
I'm looking in my closet and I see these boxes of masks. I was like, man, oof, man. So, I kind of felt guilty that I had these stockpile of masks. So, who do I know that's essential that I can kind of share these with? I'm sure I'm not going
Uh-huh.
to be out, a lot. So it's just crazy how things fall into place. Blessed is definitely
And
the word,
yeah, and that timing for us, I mean, it couldn't have gotten better because,
right?
we were quarantined before everybody else. Our quarantine started right after our transplants. And for me, I had a big convention for my business um in the beginning of March, and I was actually released to go to that, and that was like the first thing I was able to do
Yep.
after my transplant. And it's crazy because it was like the week after, that's when everything shut down because I just look at God's timing and just being perfect, but it also was just preparation for us to just be more aware and more conscious about being around different people and making sure that we're protecting ourselves. But it was like everybody was getting a little taste of what we have been going through for a while.
Indeed, indeed. Taking a look at the comments, looks like we got some more people chiming in here. So there's Tiffany Joseph. Hey, Tiffany, how are you? Federico saying that he wish he could do PD, but he's a swimmer and he can't trust pools or lakes around him. So I totally get
Yeah,
that. While
that
I was
was a
on
big thing
PD,
for
I
me
didn't go in the pool.
too.
I'm not much of a swimmer, anyways, but I will share this though. Since transplant, my family and I took a trip down to South Padre Island, and I was able to get in the pool.
Oh
So
yeah,
just there's that freedom that it's like, wow, I can actually do this. You
and I
know,
love South Padre.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'm missing a foot, but you know what? Water is the ultimate equalizer. Because once I got into about waist high, water inside a pool, it was
Yeah.
almost like I had my foot again because that weight distribution was there and that support was there. Taking a look back in the comments there, Jonathan, yeah, definitely there's a workout. There's a workout involved, lifting those boxes. Nelda has 4 kidneys.
Oh
Wow.
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 Salute to
I think we
you.
need, yeah, definitely salute to you right there, Nelda. We need to hear that story. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Kent Bressler, he's saying hello from Kerrville Transplant Support Group. So just want to take a minute or two if I can. So Nelda's in Brownsville. All right. Right there by South Padre Island. We need to connect so that
Oh
way we
yeah,
can hear that
absolutely.
story and hopefully share it. Yeah, 4 kidneys. Yikes.
Wow.
All righty. Definitely looking forward to hearing that. Want to take a minute to just talk about Ken Bressler and his nonprofit. It's Kidney Solutions. They helped me a great deal in my journey. Kent has really become a mentor to me as far as helping me learn, helping my family navigate the transplant process. And he does this for people locally and also on a national level. So anyone that's watching, if you're on dialysis, if you're in the process of trying to get a transplant, trying to find a kidney donor, go to kidneysolutions.org. Jonathan, I'm going to lean on you to paste that website in the comments, just like I know you're getting ready to do. So Jonathan, paste that website in the comments there. Anyone who is searching for a donor, or they need help, or they don't know where to start, right? Contact Kent at Kidney Solutions, and he'll definitely help you out. It's awesome. A nonprofit organization. They do not charge further services there, so definitely worth looking them up. Indeed.
Thanks for what you guys are doing, because there's lots of people out there that I've been meeting people, because I tell my story every single day. I tell my story to people every single day, and there's lots of people out there. A lot of times they'll connect me with somebody else that's going through a similar situation. And Jason, how did you end up getting your kidney? Because I know you actually went through a parent program. So what was your transplant like? Like, how did you get the word out, and how did you spread it? I know Kent probably had something to do with that.
Right. So, pre-COVID, Kidney Solutions, what they would do is they would meet with, the person in need. In this case, me. They would meet with me and my family, and they would have a photo shoot. And they would also shoot video, and they would release the pictures to you. That way you could share them on social media. They would upload the video to YouTube. That way you could share wherever. Even now during this time, we're kind of, we're still during the pandemic time, so that's not really happening. We are finding other ways to go ahead and help spread the word as well. But that's what they did for me specifically. They shot those pictures. They made that video. Amanda De Leon did that. Amanda, thank you so much. It was a big help. Kent really helped me navigate, whenever the transplant center would call me, they would kind of use their, transplant talk. Someone who's had no real medical training, aside from when I've gone to the doctor and gotten bad news. So I would essentially call Kent and say, hey, this is what they're saying. What does this mean? He's like, oh, okay. So this is where you are in the process. He was kind of like my transplant center whisperer, to kind of help me understand what to do, what steps to take, and so on. To answer your question, though, about my transplant, it was through a paired donation. That's how I received my transplant. My friend, my brother in Christ, my hero, Scott Mullen, he offered to donate his kidney to me. He was a match for me. Turns out he was a better match for somebody else. So, wow. University Transplant Center saw an opportunity. They're like, hey, if you donate to this person, we can do a paired exchange. And not only will you help Jason, but you'll help somebody else. So Scott agreed, and the Transplant Center found a donor that was a better match for me. And this turned into a chain of 4 donations that occurred. 4 donations that occurred because of this. So an amazing story.
What a blessing. What a blessing.
Indeed. It's a blessing that I recognize every day, and it's so amazing. Rich, share with us, your transplant story there, because yours is very special as well.
It is. It's crazy. I'm actually writing a book with my donor right now because the story is just so powerful. And I actually started a home-based business when I was active duty. My wife and I, we started a home-based business, and we've been very successful in that business, and helped a lot of people. And once I knew that I was a go for a kidney transplant, what I did is I just created a picture with all of the information that they needed. It had my date of birth, the transplant center, how to get tested, and just some facts about, because I know a lot of people are scared to donate because they're thinking, oh, is this going to cause me to be sick, or going to cause my health to deteriorate? So just some facts on there about, living donors have the same amount of health. And it's actually my donor, he actually got healthier because he became more conscious of his health. But all of the facts on one single picture, and everything they needed was there. And I just shared it on my social media. And I had over 1,500 friends share it as well. And we just kept that going. And it's funny, a funny story. I'm a big fight fan. I like boxing. I like UFC. And I did something stupid. I went live during one of the UFC fights, and they shut down my Facebook page for 30 days. So this was around that time I'm asking for a transplant. So all of that stuff was going. I'm like, oh man, I didn't know if they were going to ever give me my Facebook back. So we ended up creating t-shirts. And it's funny, that started another business for my family. We ended up creating t-shirts with that same picture, with that same information on there, and just encouraging people to buy a shirt to help get the word out. And the word just got to spreading. And one of my business partners, his name is Tim Bartlett. He lives out in the Dallas area. He actually was he tells his story, and like I said, we're writing a book together, and he was actually seeing the post, but like most people, they see stuff and they just scroll right past it. But he kept seeing it and kept seeing it, and one day he was at church, and the message was a message of loving thy neighbor, and the message spoke to him, and God spoke to him and told him that he was a match for me and that he needed to get tested. Now, Tim doesn't like needles. He doesn't see doctors. He's very, he didn't know who his primary care physician was. He's the type, and his wife kind of laughs. He's the type that, faints if he sees blood on a TV. So he's not into, getting tested and all of that stuff, but just being obedient to the Holy Spirit. He went through with the process, and he was, sure enough, a 100% match for me. And he called me the day after Thanksgiving to let me know. And I put the post out around the middle of September, I think maybe the middle of September, end of September. And he called me the day after Thanksgiving, telling me that he went through the entire process. He's a match and he's giving me a kidney. I couldn't even believe it, because he didn't tell me that he was going through the process. There's a lot of people that reached out to me and said, yeah, I'm getting tested for you. We're going to see if we can, be a match. He didn't tell me anything. He just was obedient, went through the process. He actually drove from Dallas to San Antonio to go through the entire workup. And once he knew for sure that he was a match, he contacted me the day after Thanksgiving and let me know. And it was just like the best Thanksgiving gift ever. And on January 3rd, we actually went through, got the transplant, and everything has been great. So I thank God for him and his obedience. And it's just an amazing story, because he talks more in detail about his journey and some of the things that transpired before, during, and after the transplant that kind of helped him. But, me and Jason, me and you talked about it, we talked about it as well when we're talking about doing this show. There's a lot of division going on in our country right now. And, we were like, it's a good, we're going to have a Latino brother, a Black brother coming on together, showing unity. And Tim's a white guy, Tim's a white guy. And
just like Scott.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. He was talking about a story about his mom asking him, like, were you shocked that you're, 100% match for a Black guy? And it's just these, these things that we deal with. We have these differences, but at the same time, good people are good people, no matter what shade of skin you have. And that's the thing that we're trying to do, is bring good people together and share that unity. But it's just powerful of acts like that, and being selfless and being willing to help your brother, help your fellow man in a time that they're in need. So it's something that we need more of. So I'm glad we're starting this show and doing this, because we're gonna shed light and shed a lot of love with a lot of people. But it's an amazing story, and I'm looking forward to me and him completing that book and pushing out there so people can see the behind the scenes and all the ins and outs of what transpired.
See behind the scenes and also be inspired as well. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's awesome. And I believe Steve mentioned this on Sunday night when I was on his show, World Kidney News. He mentioned, we all bleed red blood. So, at the end of the day, just like that message that Tim heard at church, help thy neighbor. That's one of the underscoring messages that's at the heart of any kind of donation, whether it's monetary, whether it's an organ, whatever kind of assistance, whatever kind of donation you get, whether you donate your time. Right now, Steve's donating his time to help us with this show. He's helping his neighbor.
Appreciate that, Steve.
Definitely. Looking back at the comments, say hello to Angela. Hello from California. So California's in the house also. Oregon, California, Texas. Man, before we know it, Rich, we're gonna have people from other side of the world chiming in here.
Oh yeah.
And there's Jonathan on the spot there with the kidneysolutions.org website. Thanks for that, Jonathan. Greatly appreciate that. And let's see here. Alrighty. So you touched on something else that I wanted to, talk about. Oh yeah. You mentioned, t-shirts and so on. So, and, we'll definitely expand on this on, future shows, and maybe talk strategies even. So, shortly after Scott, shared with me his intention to, donate his kidney, we really didn't make it public. It was really early on. He had to get tested, right? So I pressed on. I continued my search.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you keep your foot on the gas until you're being wheeled into the operating room.
Yes, sir.
I had another good friend of mine, Juan reach out to me, and he's like, hey, I'm going to make these signs for you. I'm going to put them all over San Antonio. So he made these signs for him out of his own pocket, and he put them all over San Antonio. He left me a stack of signs. I gave them to my dad, who went back home to El Paso, Texas, and put them all over there. So that's one option that we did. I also made some, graphics for, social media. One point I kind of want to make, and like I mentioned, we'll, drill into this in future episodes, but I feel it's important to mention this early on for anyone listening who is looking for a donor, is it's natural to put your blood type on any kind of literature, pamphlet, social media post, and say, this is the blood type I need. Find out if the transplant center that you are listed with participates in paired exchange donation.
Yes.
With me, my blood type's O negative. So that's unfortunately the longest wait time on the actual transplant list. So I knew that paired donation would be my best option. So any kind of, sign or social media graphic, anything that was made on my behalf or that I created, did not have my blood type on there. Because if people see that and they know their blood type, right, and not all of us do, and I do, right? We found out real quick. but if people see that and they go, I'm A positive, I can't help.
I can't donate. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I can donate. And if your transplant program does participate in paired exchange, you have that in your back pocket to say, well, you know what, actually, you still can. There's a possibility. If you are healthy enough and you are willing, we can actually do what's called a paired exchange. And it's just an opportunity to educate and to help you find that donor. So that's amazing. So that's one point I wanted to mention there. Dawn is saying that her kidney is from a young Puerto Rican lady. Wow, look at that. And Jared's mentioned the same thing. We all believe the same thing. It's amazing.
I love what Jonathan said. He said no discrimination in donation.
There you go.
So
there you go,
I
Jonathan.
Love that.
I missed that.
I love that.
I love that. Jonathan,
no
that needs to be on a
discrimination in donation.
That's got to be on a t-shirt right there. You make that a t-shirt, I'm buying one, all right, Jonathan? So I'm just letting you know. Put that on a shirt right there. Awesome.
Yep. And that's one of the things that, people have to understand. And then another thing, if you're needing a transplant, one thing I've learned is you have to advocate for yourself. You have to go out there and you got to put the word out. You got to be adamant about it, because this is your life. This is your livelihood. And if people don't know, they can't help you. And a lot of times we'll let our pride get in the way and I don't want to ask anybody for something. You got to put that pride aside and say, listen, this is what's going on. If you can help, great. If you can't, you can share the word. There was a lot of people that, they have underlying health issues and they couldn't donate themselves, but they can help spread the word, because there's a lot of people that I've connected with that have given kidneys and given different organs to complete strangers. And I love stories like that, because it really shows the reality of our humanity. There's a lot of negativity going around, and there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of division, but there's also a lot of good and things like that. We need to highlight that good and that embracing of, this is my brother, no matter what color they are, no matter what background they have, no matter what race they are, no matter what religion. This is another human being that deserves to live, and I have the ability to help them, and I'm willing to help them even if I don't know them. That's powerful, and I love stories like that. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to get the word out, because there are people out there, you might not even know them, but they'll come across that post, they'll come across that t-shirt, and they will help, and that might be your match. So don't just rely on, I know some people that say, I'm just going to rely on my family to get this done. No, don't just rely on your family, because if they're not qualified and they can't do it, then what? Continue to go out there and search for a match, because I believe there's a match out there for each and every one of us.
Amen to that. Amen to that, Rich. I'm in that same line of thinking with you right there. Jonathan, just so you know, you may need to bring that price point down on that t-shirt, because if that t-shirt is $99.95, I'm gonna need some kind of a payment plan, brother. So just letting you know about that. There you go, Jared.
Absolutely.
Humanity was never meant to be political. Amen to that.
Absolutely. Amen.
So we got about 15 minutes left in our show here, and just kind of want to let everyone know kind of what the goal is for this show that we have. Let's go ahead and rewind a little bit. The name, Two Guys, Six Kidneys. It's
That's
meant to be
right.
kind of tongue in cheek a little bit, but it's the truth. Me, before receiving my transplant, I just always assumed they would take one of them out or both of them. I don't know. I'm not a
I
doctor.
did too. Yeah, I did
That's just
too.
what I assumed, right? So turns out they do not remove a kidney from us. They
Nope.
insert
Just get an
the
extra.
donated kidney. So right now, Rich and I are walking around, going about our day, and we have 3 kidneys inside of us. And
Yep.
it's, the point is we have one extremely well working kidney, and it makes all the difference in the world. All the difference in
It
the world
does.
there. So, and we're 2 guys and we have 6 kidneys. So, simply put, that's how that name came about there. As mentioned before, looks like Don, if you're saying me too, you have 3 kidneys also, then awesome. That's awesome there. So yeah, overall, we definitely want to talk about life, not only on peritoneal dialysis, but also life with end-stage renal failure, because that in itself is
Yeah.
a whole other topic right there. We definitely want to expand more on our transplant journey as well. We also want to talk about how did we get here? What kind of support did we have? How important is it to have a support system? And
Man,
to
that's
know
so
that
important.
it's paramount. And if you
You
feel
gotta
like you
think that's
don't
how
have
we
this,
met.
that's exactly how we met. That's right. That's
That's how we
without
met. And we didn't know
without
each
that
other,
support
but it
group
was
on
like,
Facebook, we
we're
wouldn't
going
have met.
exactly. We're going through the same thing. And guys, I'm gonna be honest, it's not easy to deal with, but it makes it better when you're not alone and there's other people that are going through it and other people that have come out of it better. I remember, the group that we were on, there were some unfortunate events where, some of the people that we were communicating with on there, they passed away. And
Right.
their spouse or their loved one would come on there and just share, sorry that my husband or, this person, they passed away. And it's like, oh man. But then at the
Right.
same time, you have those people that are on there and they're saying, hey, I got a donor, and they're excited,
Right.
and you share in that joy. But we're sharing in that pain and that sorrow, but we're also sharing in that joy, and we have that hope. And then for
Yep.
us to be, some of the people that were on there and also saying, hey, I got somebody that's willing to donate to me, and then have the transplant and everything's going great, and be able to share that with people that, because there's people on there that have been on dialysis for so long, and it's like, man, I take my hat off to them because they're extremely strong individuals to endure that and just continue to go through that with the hope of, one day I'll get a transplant. So just be able to share our story and let them know, hey, there is hope on the other side. There is a brighter future. You just got to continue to press on. And that is something that really inspired me to be a part of those support groups, to where there was other people that came out and said, hey, I've been through it. I got a transplant and I'm doing great now. I'm praying for you. And that's one of the things that is really underrated, but that support is very, very necessary.
Crucial. Crucial. And kind of one of the main points here is, if you feel like you don't have a support group around you, like locally, regardless of what your situation is, the kidney community, it's vast, but it's very close. It's very close. Just now, I never knew who Nelda was, and now I know she's got 4 kidneys, right? So the
Yeah.
kidney community is very close. If there's anyone out there that feels they don't have support, reach out to these Facebook groups. Reach out to Kidney Solutions. We have a support group that meets every Monday night, every Thursday night on Zoom. There's different ways to get support. It's out there, and these people are willing to help you along and journey with you and help you get to transplant and also beyond as well. So that way, those one-off questions you have that maybe you feel may not be for the transplant coordinator, you can reach out to someone who does have some medical experience or who does have experience in those one-off situations even. But of course, if it's any kind of medical situation, you always want to reach out to your transplant team first. That's your first contact
Oh
regarding
yeah.
anything medical at all. So, kind of going on to kind of other topics that we do want to talk about as well. We do want to talk about caregivers. So speaking about support, having that caregiver person, someone in that role for Rich, for myself, it was our wives, and God has blessed us with some amazing, strong, loving, caring women to help us along the way and help us get to this point. So that's definitely something else that we do want to talk about, and maybe even the effects it has on the family. Rich has children, I have children, so there's many different topics that we're gonna talk about over the course of many shows that we're gonna have. So excited to be on
Oh
this journey
yeah.
with you, Rich, and so excited for the
Hey, that
engagement that
that brought
we've
up a
had so
question
far.
for me.
Oh yeah.
That brought up a question for me. So I know for me, like once I went through the transplant and I came home and everything was good, and I just want to know your perspective on this because for those that don't know, we have like this tube coming out of us that's hooked up to our stomach, and it connects to a machine. And
Yep.
this machine has, this tube, and it's only so long, so we're kind of limited. Once we're hooked up, we can't go outside of our bedroom pretty much, and we're limited to where we can go. And I had some situation like in the middle of the night, like the fire alarm going off. It wasn't a fire, but the fire alarm going off, and things that or you hear a noise or something, like you can't even go out there to check it because you're hooked up to this machine. So it's things like that that in the back of your head is just like eating away at you, like, hey, I'm supposed to be the protector of the house and I can't even do this thing. We have a baby, our son is 2 years old, and anytime the baby needed a bottle in the middle of the night, I could never get up to get the bottle. I always had my wife had to always do it. But once I came home after that transplant and I was no longer connected to that machine, it took me a while to realize, hey, you can actually get up from the bed and leave the room at night. But once I did, it was like, all right, I'm getting all the bottles now. It was like it was my honor to go out and do that, to get the bottles for the baby, because now I'm able to leave my room at night. How was that for you, having that freedom after the transplant to be able to leave your bedroom? Was it the same
Oh
for
yeah.
you?
Yeah, the same for me. So our bedroom's on the second floor. So, not only being down a foot, but then also being tethered to a machine. My
Yeah.
thought was always my thought was always this. If there's a fire in the middle of the night, like I'm done for. Like just just to disconnect from the machine, right?
Yeah.
Like, if there's a situation where there's a fire, I'm sure I'm gonna bypass that alkavase step. When, for those that don't know, alkavase is like bleach that's safe for your skin that you're supposed to use to sanitize the parts that connect. So I figure I kind of had a plan in the back of my mind just to switch off the machine, have that cap ready, unplug, cap the catheter, tape
Hmm.
that to my body, and somehow either get my prosthetic on or just get downstairs and make sure everyone's out as well and safe and sound. But those are real thoughts that you have as, personally speaking, as a man, the protector of the
Yeah.
house. Those
Yeah.
those are thoughts that you have. What am I gonna do if this happens, right? Not only that,
Hmm.
but our entire second floor is surrounded by boxes. So if anything catches on fire, it's just gonna engulf.
Oh yeah.
Thankfully there's fluid in those boxes, so maybe that could slow it down.
Uh-huh.
But never wanted to be in that situation. But it's a legitimate fear coming back home from that transplant. It's weird, sometimes it's not really for me the machine. I was able to kind of separate, not having to plug in anymore. But for me, the hard part,
Hmm.
even still, is whenever I eat, I still reach for my phosphate binders. 9 months post transplant, right before I eat, I I put my hand
Hmm.
over my pocket to feel my little medicine case that I would keep those binders in, and I would pull it out, and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, I don't gotta take those anymore. So
Yeah.
it's like hardwired in my brain that before I eat,
Hmm.
I need to take I, I need to take those phosphate binders. But it's same problem but different kind of way, right? So
Oh yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. It is. It is. And I know for me, like as soon as I woke up from the surgery, I felt better. As soon as
Yes.
I woke up, it was like instant. And of course, I was in pain from the incision, but my overall like health, and it was crazy because I really didn't realize how sick I was until I got the kidney. I really didn't realize how bad I was feeling and how I was just pushing through. And I kind of related to, the story they talk about if you put a frog in water and you gradually turn the water up, the frog would just stay in the water and boil because it doesn't realize the water is hot. I think it's the same thing. As our health slowly deteriorates, we don't really realize how much in trouble we are until after the fact. I got that brand new kidney and I woke up, of course in pain, but I'm like, wow, it's just totally different immediately when I woke up from the surgery. And then as you're recovering and you get your health back and your strength back, and it's just like, wow, I never realized how good health really felt until I lost it. Was it the same for you, like waking up from the surgery and just feeling great?
Yeah, yeah, it was. And it's funny because I kind of lived vicariously through you while you went through your transplant, because yours was about a week and a half before
Hmm.
mine. And
Yeah.
you were uploading videos and going live shortly after your transplant. I can still see them when I close my eyes and look in my brain. I can see you all groggy. Hey guys, I'm feeling better, but still all groggy, and stuff inside you and tubes coming out and so on. But I remember hearing you say those words. As soon as I opened my eyes, I felt so much better. And
Yeah.
I honestly had a hard time understanding that, because honestly, I knew I was sick, but I didn't feel it. I would feel the low energy, I could feel the effects, but my brain told me that I wasn't sick, right? Even though my body was saying, you're really sick, you need a kidney.
Yeah.
So same experience for me. I opened my eyes, and my wife was my wife was at my bedside, and she said, it's done. Everything's going good. The doctor said everything is great. And I opened my eyes. I was just like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus." And it's like, took a second to kind of take inventory. And it's like, all right, I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
I'm feeling groggy still because of the medication, but I
Hmm.
can feel the difference now. So
Oh yeah.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and there's so many different things. I know, we're gonna have to end this soon. We're coming up on our hour, but there's so many different things that you go through on this journey from, the kidney failure to the dialysis to, getting a donor to having a transplant date and then having that actual transplant and then afterwards the recovery and slowly but surely just getting back to your normal self and getting back to being in a place where some of the things that were I mean it was big. I remember um you know we uh we went to our convention and actually coming here. I'm at my mom's house right now in Ohio. Coming
Hmm.
here, my mom has it's a fairly new house. They've been in there a few years, but this is the first time that I've been at this house and I didn't have to have my machine transported here. I didn't have to, call early and ship boxes here. I didn't have
Yep.
to, hook myself to a machine. So it's just like, and everybody notices like this is your first time being here and not having your machine with you. And it's just like, wow. It's like one of those
Yeah.
moments that you can just sit back and like just be thankful, just thank God that you made it through, and now you're experiencing a different life.
Yes, a different life, and that's definitely what we want for those who are on dialysis, who are pursuing transplant. That's definitely what Rich and I have experienced, and that's what you have to look forward to, right? A different life. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show here. It's coming up here next couple of minutes. Before we do wrap up, though, do want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who's been commenting. There's Uncle Jim Myers. Look at that! Just got done with the support group. Came to check out the show. Thanks for doing so, Jim. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much for all that you do. Just a quick story. I know we're almost done here, but so Jim Myers, just like Ken Presser, they're folks that are they're they're known in the kidney community on a national level, right? They help out, in different ways. Jim, I don't know how he does it, but he shares so much information on social media. It's so helpful. I'm always finding myself reading the articles he shares or saving them so I can read them later. But I had never met Jim in person until the morning after my transplant. Jim lives in Indiana. I'm in Texas. And the morning after my transplant, Kent walks in and right behind him is Jim Myers. And I was like, wow, am I still under anesthesia? Are these drugs really strong, or is that Jim Myers really walking in my room right there? So that was amazing to, get to meet Jim Myers the morning after my transplant. It was kind of like a nice, welcome to the club is kind of how I felt it with, Kent and Jim walking in there. So with that, we want to thank everyone for, joining us on the first show of Two Guys, Six Kidneys. We look forward to many, many more. Thank you, everyone, for interacting with us in the comments. For everyone that's watching, whether it's live or whether it's on a replay, we have launched our Facebook page today as well. So please, by all means, go ahead and search Facebook, Two Guys, Six Kidneys. We'll be on Instagram soon, so you can go and check us out there soon as well. Feel free to, comment on any posts we put. We'll be putting, whether it's behind the scenes or, one-offs, if, Rich or I kind of get some inspiration and just go at the moment and record a video, go live from there just for a couple of minutes, just to kind of share something inspiring with you, anything at all. We look forward to this. It's something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and we're excited to finally kick this off and to have this show for peritoneal dialysis patients by two guys who have gone on this journey. So any last words, Rich?
Well, hopefully you guys can hear me. My signal was breaking up. I'm actually using my cell phone to get this signal. I'm still in Ohio. I'll be back in Texas next week, so I'll have a clearer picture and clear internet. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Our hope and our mission is to help other people going through this journey, let you know that you're not going through it alone. And if you know people that can benefit from this, if you know people that are going through end stage renal failure, if you know people that are trying to make that decision through hemo or peritoneal dialysis, if you know people that are in need of a kidney transplant, tell them to reach out to us, because we would love to have them on the show and to highlight them and help them get the word out and help them to get a kidney transplant. And if we can be a small part of that journey for them, that's really our hope and our desire, is to help and positively impact and positively touch as many lives as we can. So we're thankful to each and every one of you guys for spending some time with us. And I pray that you are all blessed. So with that, Jason, we can definitely wrap it up. And I want to thank you as well for helping us put this together.
Oh yeah. Thanks to you too, Rich. Steve, thanks to you as well. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Have a pleasant evening, and God bless you all, guys. We'll see you next time.
Hello, I'm Darren. We have breaking news. More than 600,000 Americans have kidney failure. While the number of people with kidney failure is enormous, the number of people with its precursor, chronic kidney disease, is staggering. An estimated 31 million Americans, or about 10% of the US population. Diabetes and hypertension cause 2/3 of all cases of kidney disease. 1 out of every 3 Americans is at risk for kidney disease, and kidney disease is now among the top 10 causes of death in the United States. In addition, 9 out of 10 people with early to moderate kidney disease don't know they have it, putting their health in jeopardy. Are you at risk? For more information, contact urbankidneyalliance.org. The life you save may be yours.